So you might be wondering, Liz, why is this the only video I need to watch on YouTube for how to find an apartment in New York City? The first problem my friends tend to encounter when they're thinking about moving to New York is they don't know what each of the neighborhoods are like. I feel like it'd be a great disservice to you if I let one of my friends, or you live in a neighborhood that you don't like and you didn't know that you didn't like it until you were there and you sign a 1-year contract. I want to share alternatives to signing 1-year contracts in New York City. I recommend looking for sublets instead of signing a year-long lease sight unseen. I want you to do an exercise right now. I want you to pick up your pen and write down everything you want in your apartment search, whether it be super close with friends, bright and airy, close to transit, have a Trader Joe's nearby, have a Target nearby. Write those things down. And this is going to be the hardest part. I need you to be so for real with yourself and think, is this a need or a want? To help guide you through this practice, these are my needs and these are my wants. As you can see, my wants is very long. There's some wants for certain appliances, but if a laundromat is close by, it's not a big deal. There are definitely some needs that I will not compromise on. Okay, now for the fun part, let's take a look at a few apartments together. So let's take a look at our first apartment. It is in Williamsburg. This specific apartment that we saw, it was the only one that was not a sublet, and it made me go, whoa, we definitely have to stick to a sublet because this apartment is $4,000 and it has a 15% annual rent broker's fee. That means to be able to move into this apartment, you need to have 1 month's rent, which is $4,000, plus the 15% broker's fee, which is $7,200, plus 1 month security deposit, which is another $4,000. In total, we would have needed to put $15,200, which is insane. I will say a huge pro is that this apartment is rather large for Williamsburg. I could definitely see it as being able to divide up the living room to be able to make it a flex room, which is very popular in New York City. But yeah, it was just way too expensive. We would have had to pay for all the furniture to have filled up all the empty space. Just does not seem worth it for a 1-year lease. We don't know anything about that building. We don't know what the neighbors are like. We don't know if there's a cockroach infestation, which is very popular. We didn't know anything about the laundromats in the area. I will say the big plus of this is that it was recently renovated and there was a washer dryer and unit, but the kitchen was incredibly small, which would not have been a bigger issue if the rent was not that high. Williamsburg is in Brooklyn. It's one of my favorite neighborhoods in New York City. It is also one of the more expensive neighborhoods, and a lot of it is due to the fact that it doesn't have a lot of supply of housing. In Manhattan, you have a lot of skyscrapers, but also 6-story buildings, which is the limit of floors you can have without having to install an elevator. When you have an elevator, it's a much more expensive apartment because of maintenance for that elevator. Williamsburg is absolutely perfect for you if you love the city of San Francisco. For sure, it reminds me a lot of living in San Francisco. There's a high tech, crypto presence here. It's also still artsy, but it's the successful artists who live here or people with young families, and it's very quiet. Also super close to Manhattan, and it makes this a very desirable location. I would say Williamsburg is perfect for you if you are in your 20s to maybe early 30s. If you're in your 30s, maybe you have a family. You like peace and quiet, you like having easy access to Manhattan, and you like having other young people around in a clean place, and you don't mind paying for it because it definitely is more expensive here. So I'm going to be honest here. I did not like Bed-Stuy. Personally, a huge appeal of Bed-Stuy is that it is a more residential neighborhood. There's basically no tourists there. There's a lot more room. The apartments tend to be older, roomier for families, and it's cheaper. The cons are there's usually not as much subway lines, or if there is, they get delayed pretty often. There's not a lot of amenities out there, you know, Trader Joe's, Target, Lululemon. The classic suburban stores don't really exist in this neighborhood as much, but I heard the pros is that there's a huge diversity within this neighborhood, and you can see it in the types of local restaurants and local businesses that happen out there. I would say Bed-Stuy is perfect for you if you are in your 30s, you like the option of having your own space and lots of space for yourself. You don't mind a longer commute, so maybe you work from home or you are self-employed, and maybe if you have a family. I would say for other people who are looking to save on rent, this is also a great option because it's generally very safe. It's just a longer commute. I know plenty of people college age and in their 20s who lived in this neighborhood, but I can say I don't think I have any friends who live in this neighborhood. So that definitely plays into a huge factor for me. So this apartment was gorgeous. Also, the lady was subletting out her apartment because she was going to go travel in Europe for a few months. And I was looking for a sublet that was going to be at least 5 months. This one was only 2 to 3. I am also not super keen on doing a sublet for 2 to 3 months because then I would have had to search again. And it would have started just around the time when everybody else was looking for a sublet in August/September. So it just seemed like a lot of extra work to have like stressed me out. So I just kept looking. And as beautiful as it was, you can see there was not a lot of furniture. So I was also calculating the cost of bringing furniture in that area and lugging it. By the way, moving furniture, say moving a mattress 5 blocks away is still like $100 to $200 a move. And this building did not have any elevators, so moving furniture is very challenging. That was a huge con in my eyes because I needed to have multiple desks and there was not a lot of grocery shops that I'm familiar with. In addition, it was also on a very loud road, so it was screaming loud on a quiet afternoon. So here's a clip of what the sound is like. So it was not my favorite. So the next one I want to show you is East Williamsburg. You might be wondering, how different is Williamsburg versus East Williamsburg? I feel like the vibe was completely different. East Williamsburg was very industrial, old, sparse. There were way more people driving around in cars, so it seemed a lot more residential. And I feel like the demographic was a lot older, leaned more into the artsier side. Yeah, I personally did not like it that much because it's not like a super populated neighborhood. I didn't have a lot of my friends living there. And so I just thought about, oh, every time I want to see a friend, I have to add it into my commute time, which means I probably won't see my friends that often. And so that was a huge con for me. I will say, because it's a little further out, it is less expensive and you do have a lot more new builds there. And this apartment is a perfect example of that. I would say East Williamsburg is perfect for people who have jobs or careers in Williamsburg and Bed-Stuy, and for people who do not need to commute a lot, and for people who like having their own car, so you want to go out on the weekends and explore a little bit more. That is a demographic I think is perfect for East Williamsburg. Okay, so let's talk about the apartment. It's super modern. It is a sublease/sublet by a lesbian couple. God bless them, they got so lucky. They won the New York City housing lottery. So they were moving to a brand new apartment and they were taking off $1,000 off the rent. So this apartment went for $3,400 and they were going to an apartment that was $2.4K, which is an insanely good deal for a completely new build in a neighborhood that they will like. It has like way more amenities. I'm very happy for them. Also slightly envious of them. Yeah, major pros of this apartment is it was a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous apartment. Huge kitchen, lots of space, and a couple of things made me not want to pick this. Number one, their lease was ending in 3 months or so, and then we would have had to re-sign a new lease with the building, which was fine. That was, we were amenable to that. The thing we did not like was because they were moving to a new apartment, they were going to move at least half of their furniture away, and then we would have had negotiated talking about furniture, which I think would have just added a lot of stress to the process. And for them, they probably would have gone with the candidate that would just either buy all their furniture or give them all their furniture and just move their own furniture in for the last 2 months. We didn't even know if we would like that neighborhood yet, so we weren't keen on buying new furniture, furnishing the place, and then having to lug it all again and spending thousands of dollars on moving. The other thing that I really did not like about this apartment was because of how it's constructed, I could be in the bedroom, someone else could be in the living room, and you can hear them as clear as day. The acoustics were not it, and I'm a person who's very sensitive to sound. I love having my peace and quiet. Even when the air conditioner is running, it drives me mad. So that was another huge con of that apartment. I just could hear every single thing there, and it would have driven me nuts. We also had access to a balcony and a rooftop, which was nice, but it wasn't the biggest pro because they were in such a sparse neighborhood that there was nothing to see. It was just gray, flat buildings and noise on the street. So I wasn't, it's supposed to be a pro. It's supposed to be worth an extra $500 monthly for your apartment in New York City, but like I could have done without that. Okay, let's talk about Bushwick now. Fun fact, if you know Kamala Harris, she is our current vice president. Her stepdaughter lives in Bushwick, is an artist, young lady. I mean, she's my age. She's actually called like the queen or princess of Bushwick because of how famous her stepmother is. But Bushwick is a community that is perfect for artists, for up-and-coming creatives, for young college students because it is a very inexpensive area compared to the rest of New York. Which means if you really like being around young people, that is a great place for you to live. I'm, again, obviously speaking about the gentrification of Bushwick. There's also plenty of families who live in Bushwick, but I feel like I may misspeak because I don't know enough about that situation. But I would just say for like young people that I'm close to, a lot of people live in Bushwick. This was the biggest space we have seen so far. Huge, okay? One bedroom, one office, huge kitchen and dining room in one, and a beautiful living room. It was in railroad style, so you would not overhear each other on opposite ends of the apartment, which is one thing I loved about this place. There's also a grocery store steps away, and actually there was someone who was subletting this place who showed us the apartment. She was subletting it for 1 or 2 months before we would have moved in, and she actually knew of us because like the tech world is so small. So it was really nice to have someone in our social circles that we had similar taste in, like recommend this apartment. It was also extremely clean. She said she'd never seen a single cockroach there, which is a huge plus. Having someone we're familiar with recommend this apartment just gave us so much assurance. Because of the location of the apartment, we would have had to work from home. So I would say Bushwick is really good for those who want to work from home, who do not want to go to the office, who do not have a lot of meetings in Manhattan or Brooklyn, because you get a lot of space, a lot of bang for your buck. I would say also if you really like hosting friends, but you have a more limited budget, Bushwick is a perfect place because there's so many young people who already live there. I would say I just really, really love this apartment. It was fully furnished, fully decked out. I would have been very comfortable staying there. But a couple things gave me pause. Really like the apartment. One, the price. It was a good price for the apartment. Like, I cannot fault them at all for that. But I really did not want to pay $3,000 a month for an apartment. Even though that is a good price, I did not want that. I was still hoping to look for an apartment that was significantly under $3,000 that had all my needs and some of my wants. The other thing is the lady who was subletting this place, she was very pushy and aggressive with getting us to sign for a contract that wasn't a real contract, and it had no specifics. We didn't discuss any details about living there, about if accidents were to happen, who would take care of it. She wanted us to sign the contract that same day. So I think just that experience and also the price point for us, it was a huge turnoff. And also the neighborhood. I don't really have friends in that neighborhood now. A lot of them have moved out into Manhattan. So it just made us want to continue looking, although the timeline was perfect and I felt like the apartment was really, really, really amazing. Fidi is perfect if you work in finance because it is the financial district. But yeah, I don't think there's a reason to live in Fidi unless you like very, very, very nice buildings. You like some place that is quiet on the weekends because people are not out and about. It's not really a touristy area that much besides like the Wall Street Charging Bull. Yeah, I would say the financial Fidi is just perfect for people who work in finance or any other firm that works in that area. So maybe like consulting or some tech startups. The person that we were renting from is an investment banker, and he was going to go travel around in Europe for fun and work remotely from Europe for about 1.5 months. So this sublet was a little short, which is the first con. But look at the pro. His apartment was stunning. I've never seen views like that from inside before. Gorgeous. This building is like a luxury building called 8 Spruce, and it was beautiful. And this guy was super cool, bro-y, communicative, amazing taste, though very minimal. But the minimalism in his apartment was necessary because it was very small. The apartment felt like a hotel room, and I could not envision myself living in a hotel room for 5 months straight. It was really small. It was very beautiful, but very small. Also, I don't have any friends who live in Financial District. And when you live in a more expensive neighborhood, everything is like way more expensive. The food especially. A box of Cheerios in Texas is $3. In the Financial District, you get it for like half the size for $10. So it's so not worth. I think Fidi is fine. It's just not the most residential. I think it only makes sense to live there if you're just gonna go to work. So in terms of just the timeline, the size, having to move all the furniture in, although it was an elevator building, which was really nice. Oh, and another con was, although this building is a luxury modern designer building, you had to pay to use the amenities. And it was an extra like $200 or $300 a month to use the gym, to use the co-working spaces, to use the library. And I thought, oh my goodness, like if you're gonna pay that much money, why are these things just not included? Like you have to be an exclusive resident within an exclusive building to use these amenities. It was such a ludicrous price. At the end, it would have totaled out to be $4,000 a month for a hotel room. Okay, now I want to welcome you to my apartment. During this video, while I was talking about the different apartments I've looked at, the setting has always been my apartment that I moved into. This apartment is only $2,400, 1 bedroom, in a neighborhood that I love that has fulfilled basically all my needs and a good portion of my wants. So I'm very pleased about it. And I also have friends living in this neighborhood, so I get to see my friends pretty often. And I'm really psyched about that. Because the #1 predictor of happiness in your life is the quality of your relationships. And the quality of your relationship will prove if you don't have like friction or difficulty getting to build that relationship. In class, I want you to take notes because without having to look at too many apartments in person, and mind you, those were actually all the apartments I looked in person during my apartment hunt, I was able to find this amazing apartment. The couple that is subletting it, they actually have a baby and they're in Europe for the next months. It just matched up with our timeline perfectly. So this is a sign to never give up because hopefully you will find a living space that you love, that is close to your friends, it's close to your social circle, has the shopping centers that you want, it's close to subway lines that you need to be next to, and if you're extremely lucky, furnished by people who have a good eye for design and have a fully stocked out kitchen. They even have an ice cream maker. And no, your eyes are not tricking you. This was actually where the baby slept. So that's why the wallpaper is like this. And one of the cutest things ever, if you guys are ready for it, they left behind a baby sock by accident. But look how small it is. This is the last and most actionable section for y'all. Please listen to this part. I'm going to teach you how to apartment hunt / sublet hunt, okay? There are 3 websites that I recommend using. The listingproject.com. I hope this video doesn't blow up because now apartments are going to be snatched so fast. #2, Facebook groups. And #3, leasebreak.com. Those are the 3 sites that I use the most to be able to find the apartments that I was looking at. Let's continue to talk a little bit more about why you should sublet. Okay, the #1 question I get asked is, what's the difference between a sublet and a sublease? A sublease is permanent. You usually take over the end of the lease and the people don't intend to return back to the apartment. They have to move away from work to a new city. They don't plan to return back to New York City. So they have 3 months left on the lease. They're looking for someone to take over the rest of the lease. They may or may not take all their stuff with them, but when the renewal time comes, it's up to you if you want to renew with the building or not. They're out of the picture. A sublet is usually when people have to travel, but they intend to come back. So all their possessions are here. For example, this apartment is fully furnished with bedding, books, home decor stuff, this drawer, this IKEA wardrobe. This is my chair. This is my desk. It's my monitor. But they furnished everything. Another reason why you should sublet is because if you are sensitive to weather like me, it is worth rotating between a few cities. As you know, I had lived in Hawaii for a bit and I love it. I intend to return back this winter, but I do want to spend most of my time in New York when it's not crazy cold. Another reason to sublet is because of flexibility. There's this new Netflix show that I love. It's not very new anymore, but it's called How to Get Rich. And the guy who hosts it says, your rent is the maximum you will pay, your mortgage is your minimum. I think being able to have a sublet where things are furnished for you, you don't have to waste your time furniture shopping, you don't have to waste your time like calling movers, just move in and everything's ready. That's just such a huge perk and makes life so much easier. This is the maximum amount that I will be paying. I will not need to pay more than that if something breaks. It's not my responsibility to take care of it. I mean, I will if I have the capacity, but it's not my responsibility, you know? So that gives me a lot of peace of mind and stability. I've also saved so much money not buying furniture. Furniture is so expensive. And then moving it in New York especially is so costly because most people don't have a car. So you're gonna have to hire movers and you're paying for their labor. And moving costs are usually about $3,000 in New York City. Crazy, that's like 1 month's rent. And for me, unless like a fire happens in this apartment or if I get robbed, but the most that I will lose in this apartment is my security deposit, which is 1 month's of rent, which is still less than an average price of New York City moving costs. Also, it doesn't cost more to sublet this place because they provide all the dishes, all the furniture, a nice TV, set up all the utilities, have all the furniture moved. You would think it's more expensive to sublet a place that's fully furnished, but it's actually not. Because a lot of people are just looking to recoup their monthly rent payment. You know, they're not looking to make money off of it like Airbnb, which is low-key banned in New York City. So not only do you get to move into a place that's fully furnished, fully decked out with people who care about maintaining the apartment because they're gonna come back and live here, you also don't pay more. I'm just thinking about how much time it would have taken me to furnish this entire place, compare and contrast different bedding, pick out all the plants, pick out all the art, move all these books in. You're getting a good deal by subletting. And another best thing that I love is just the familiarity. There is someone who has lived here who knows the in and outs of this apartment and can give you the shortcut on anything that goes wrong. They can tell you where the best restaurants are, what gyms they recommend, who else is in the neighborhood you can call in case you need something. They know when the street is loud, if the neighbor is loud. They can tell you if there's cockroaches and what works best for them. They can tell you what cleaner they use, like all the cleaning materials that they have, because this family is very clean. They already have the cleaning materials that they use that already works for this apartment. There's nothing extra that you need to do to figure out a good strategy for living a beautiful life in the apartment. Signing a lease for a year-long lease for an apartment that you've looked at for like 10 to 30 minutes, if you're lucky, it's such a huge risk. So I just highly, highly, highly recommend looking into sublets if you're thinking about moving into New York City instead of signing a year-long lease and potentially living a life that you're not super happy with. And it doesn't benefit me to give you guys all this information because there is a limited supply of sublets and it will probably decrease my chance of finding another one. But I hope other people have such a good experience of apartment hunting in New York City as I have. So I hope this helps you. If any of your friends are looking to move into New York City, send them this video, go through it together, go through your needs and wants, send it to your family, let them know what neighborhoods you feel like you better fit the vibe in. That being said, I am definitely not the premier expert on these neighborhoods. It is definitely colored by the fact that I am a young person and does not include anything about the gentrification in these areas, which unfortunately I don't know enough about. But I wish you a lot of luck in your apartment hunt. I hope you find a beautiful home and I hope you get to live close to your friends.